There it is, the hottest take of them all. It's the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers, live on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, happy Thursday. Welcome in the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers, live here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Top of the hour, a lot to get to. The Reds win their first series of the season. Why is everyone so angry? Why did the Reds go on the road to take 2 or 3 from San Francisco? Something that we thought would have been nearly impossible this past, Monday when the series started. Then why are we so mad today? We'll talk about that coming up in a bit. Spring game coming up this weekend. I know we discussed it earlier in the week. I'm not a big fan of Ryan Day's approach to this, but I'll get your guys' thoughts on that as well. We're going to open up the phone lines right off the bat, 937-518-1410. If you want to call and jump in on the conversation, more than capable of doing so. 937-518-1410. So I was off the last couple days. Yesterday we had the Reds game right here during the show. But I had a chance. For those of you who are familiar over in Mason, Prasco Park, unbelievable. So the Joe Nuxall Classic, Chatterbox Sports, who we've partnered with here at Wing, they were in charge of the entire production of the Joe Nuxall Classic, and the Joe Nuxall Classic features 4 college baseball programs here, obviously with Cincinnati and Xavier, Miami of Ohio, and Wright State. Now, I can't remember how long they've been doing the Joe Nuxall Classic. It's been more than 10 years, but nonetheless, that's what was going on the last couple of days. It's such a cool event. The fact that it's a community, it's a charity event that's given back to the community. All the food, all the vendors, they had Skyline, they had Chick-fil-A, they had everything you can imagine there, and it was all free. The hot dogs and the burgers and everything. It was all, free and available to all the fans. And it was just a community, outreach thing too, which is really neat. And the games were fantastic. Wright State ends up winning the Joe Nuxall Classic, which was really cool. Wasn't there on behalf of them, but to be able to be there, and obviously one of our local teams there. Wright State beat Cincinnati in game 1 on Tuesday night, and then last night able to beat Xavier after a long rain delay. Wright State had the lead, then they gave up the lead, and then they end up hitting a walk-off home run in the bottom of the 9th to win it. So they had to knock off Cincinnati out of the Big 12 and then Xavier out of the Big East to come away with the Joe Nuxall Classic Championship, which was pretty neat. But that's where I've been the last couple of days. I have never been out to Prasco Field. That is unbelievable. I mean, we talk so much about high school football and basketball all the time, and I know Wright State, and we're talking about the colleges, but Prasco Field was unbelievable. The OHSAA, I really don't follow where they even play the baseball state championships at. I know they done it at Dragon at Dayer Ballpark a few years ago, but man, I think that should be like the spot. That should be the exact spot where they host all the OHSAA baseball championships every year, because it's an unbelievable park. One of the nicest parks I've been to. When you talk about whether it's college or for high school, it's a perfect scene right there. But pretty neat. Joe Nuxall's family was there. In the post game, they presented the championship trophy. They presented the most valuable player award. So I thought that was pretty cool. But Peltier for Van Wert ends up for Wright State ends up hitting the walk-off home run, which was pretty exciting. But that's where I've been the last 2 days. I'm back, very tired. A lot of baseball and a lot of work, but it was really cool seeing how Chatterbox ran the whole production of it, and then of course to have a local team there come away victorious on top, which is pretty neat. So, the interesting thing, for those of you who aren't very familiar with Wright State's baseball program, you should be. I mean, the reputation that it has throughout the state of Ohio, arguably is the best baseball program in the state of Ohio. The fact that you get programs like Ohio State that's willing to come play at Nishwitz Stadium, to play at Wright, it's Ohio State. I don't care what sport it is. It's still Ohio State. You have to have some level of respect for a significantly smaller athletics program across the board to be willing to go play. And Ohio State's done that in recent years. But they challenge themselves in the non-con. They'll play SEC schools. They'll play the toughest schedule, and they dominate their conference. And they put so many players in the pros. Of the 4 teams of the Joe Nuxall Classic, you had Wright State, Xavier, Miami of Ohio, Cincinnati. Wright State beat Cincinnati that first night. Now, Cincinnati's in a position where they're trying to, gain as many wins as they can to improve their RPI to get in that large bid to the NCAA tournament for baseball. So you lose to a program out of the Horizon League. It doesn't matter how good they are. For casual fans who don't follow college baseball, they were ripping UC for losing to Wright State. And I'm like, look, I don't want to come across as a homer, but I don't think losing to Wright State is as big a deal as what many people are making it out to be. when you look at the 4 teams that are part of that Joe Nuxall Classic, Wright State has put more players in Major League Baseball than any of those other programs, especially in recent history. I mean, over the last 10 years, Wright State has had 6 players drafted in the top 5 rounds of the MLB draft. They have obviously Sean Murphy, and they have quite a few players playing at the major league level right now, including those who are coming up through the system like Quincy Hamilton and others. So I just, it was kind of interesting and cool to see Wright State go up there. And, they could have beaten Miami of Ohio, which is still a solid win. Don't get me wrong. And they've beaten Miami of Ohio already this year. But the fact that they went and beat Cincinnati on Friday and then beat Xavier in walk-off form the next night, and to beat programs like that during the week, like college baseball, you don't throw your arms. You don't throw your strong arms, especially in non-conference midweek games. You save your best arms for conference play on the weekends. And so the fact that you already are behind the 8 ball, you're throwing out your weaker arms going up against, these high major programs when it comes to college baseball, and Wright State still came out on top. That was a pretty cool experience getting to see that over the last couple of days. But the Joe Nuxall Classic, Kim Nuxall was out there, and he presented the trophy and the MVP belt afterwards, which was pretty cool. But a very fun experience. Prasco Park, if there's ever an opportunity for you to go check out a game out there in any capacity, I highly suggest that you do it. It was one of the cooler experiences I've had, nonetheless. But we welcome you in. It is the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. We're going to talk Reds. We're going to talk Buckeyes. We got plenty to dive into. So we're going to step away for a few moments. It was just a quick open to the show real quick. Step away for a few moments. When we come back, the Reds, they take 2 of 3 from the Giants on the road. But why are we still upset? What's wrong with the Cincinnati Reds? Why are we not pleased with a series victory, the Reds' first series victory of the season? Why are we not happy with that? Should we be happy with that? We'll discuss when we come back. The Reds are off today. They start a 3-game series with the Pirates back at Great American Ballpark starting tomorrow. We have tickets for that. There's a lot of cool giveaways at the ballpark coming up this weekend, so we'll get to all of that when we return. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers.
1410 ESPN Radio. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits.
All right, we welcome you back. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers 317 here in the Miami Valley. Appreciate you guys tuning in and hanging out. Off the last couple of days, participating and helping over with the Joe Nuxall Classic over in Mason, Prasco Field, Chatterbox Sports, the sports company out of Hamilton that we've partnered with here in Dayton. We've worked together very closely for the past year. A joint little collaboration over there with them. Very good time, very cool experience. It's a beautiful field and a lot of fun, right? State came out on top, beating Cincinnati and Xavier back-to-back nights to come away with the Joe Nuxall Classic Championship. So pretty neat nonetheless. But want to stay talking baseball. We're going to get to some Ohio State coming up around the corner. The spring game coming up this weekend. I thought I was being negative about Ohio State when it came to the quarterback battle, but I was shocked to see how many people actually agreed with me about my gut feeling regarding the quarterback competition in Columbus and why I'm a little nervous about it. And we'll get more to that coming up in a moment. But the Cincinnati Reds over the weekend, I keep saying the weekend. Today feels off to me, being off in the middle of the week, those couple days, it's just kind of thrown me off a bit. But over the last couple of days, coming out of the weekend, the Reds obviously were kind of reeling a bit. They did avoid getting swept by the Brewers in a 4-game series on the road. The Reds have been in a very interesting dilemma over the last, 13 games in. What are we in right now? When it comes to the season, either way, as we sit here right now, the Reds are coming off of a 6-4 loss against the Giants in Game 3 of this series, but the Reds did take Games 1 and 2 and end up winning the series when it's all said and done. So why are so many people upset? What is the problem? If you would have told me on Monday during the day that the Reds were going to go to San Francisco, take the series, win 2 of 3, and take momentum into the off day before returning home to take on the Pirates, I would have said there's no chance in hell that the Reds were going to take 2 of 3 against San Francisco. Keep in mind, San Francisco, the only losses they have on the season, they have beat everybody that they have played. The only losses that they've experienced are the Reds in Game 2 of the first series and then Games 1 and 2 of the second series that they just wrapped up over the weekend. The Giants are a very good team. And the Reds were able to take care of business by taking 2 of 3. Trying to figure out on social media why everyone's so upset. And, I'm trying to cross-match it to see if the reason that you guys are upset is the same reason that I'm upset. The Reds are 5-8. They just took care of business against a Giants team that's 9-3. All 3 losses are against the Cincinnati Reds. But as we sit here right now, the Reds are 5-8. They're tied with the Pirates, who they're going to start a series with starting tomorrow. Both the Reds and Pirates off tonight, so they'll go head-to-head starting tomorrow. A big series there, another divisional series. The Reds dropped 3 of 4 against the Brewers just last weekend. The Reds have been awful. They have been awful. I know they're 5-8. I know they were able to take the first series of the season to get their first win of the series, win of the season, if you will. But if you ask me, why am I not happy about that series win? Is because there's a certain way that you need to play, the Reds being the Reds. There's a certain way that the Reds need to play to win baseball games. And despite the fact that they played good enough to win Games 1 and 2 in this series, the way that they played in Games 1 and 2 of the series, despite the fact that they won, it's not good enough. They will not win a lot of games that way. I mean, shout out to Hunter Green, who was 1 pitch shy of a complete game. Nick Lodolo came out the next night, got his first win of the season. Nick Lodolo is 2-1 on the year, by the way. Nick Lodolo was fantastic. If Nick Lodolo could continue pitching the way we've seen him early on, the Reds have easily, I shouldn't say easily, the best 1-2 punch, but arguably a top 3 1-2 punch at the top of the rotation. I would almost put them as the top 1-2 punch in baseball. I have to see way more of Nick Lodolo. I can't just give that to the Reds. That's a very homeristic take. But if we head into July and Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo are pitching like this, and that means they're both healthy, the fact that you have a righty and a lefty, that 1-2 punch right there, it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, the Reds have a legit rotation. They have some legit dudes in their pitching staff. And the bottom line is the fact that they, of course, shut out the Giants in Games 1 and 2. that made it very easy for them to come away with those wins, right? But you're not going to shut out opponents. You're not going to shut them out often. The fact that the Reds have been a part of so many shutouts, whether it's them getting shut out themselves or shutting out their opponents, it's been pretty fantastic. I mean, you think about the 3 straight 1-0 losses that they had in the Texas and into the Brewers series. And then they just have back-to-back shutout victories themselves, shutting out San Fran in games 1 and 2, 2-0 and 1-0. The bottom line is, you're not going to shut out opponents very often. And when you do, you're not going to win a lot of games where you only put up 2 runs or 1 run up on the board. The reason I don't feel like the Reds did anything this series is because although they did take 2 of 3, it's not like the bats came alive. It's not like all of a sudden you have guys hitting out of their slump. This is a very bad offensive baseball team. They can't hit the baseball. They can't put runs up on the board. Now, I know you're going to say, well, they just put 6 runs up on the board yesterday. I need to see a few games of them being able to do that consistently before I could buy into this offense all of a sudden being able to consistently produce runs. But if you look at the Reds' last 10 games, they have scored 2 or less runs in 7 of their last 10 games. 2 or less runs in 7 of their last 10 games. It's just not good enough. You're going to go up against the Pirates this week. I guarantee you, you are not going to consistently winning games only putting up 2 or less runs on the board. You're just not. 7 of the last 10, that's a good chunk of games from a sample size perspective to say, oh yeah, that's 10 games, that's multiple opponents, that's multiple series. This offense is bad. Then yesterday, the kick in the gut, the fact that they did put 6 runs up on the board, had a 6-1 lead and still lost a ball game 8-6. I think that was the ultimate gut punch to close out the series, and it really never allowed the fan base to truly feel confident and comfortable with the series win. Chad Kinser brings up a good point. He goes, the Reds usually do good out west for some reason. I mean, yes and no. The Reds have done very good against the Dodgers in the West Coast over recent years for whatever reason. When the Reds go to the West Coast and they play the Dodgers, the Reds do really well against the Dodgers. I can't explain it. I've always joked that when you look at the youth on the roster of the Reds, I think they see the Dodgers, they see a team that they know can pay them and probably wants them, and I feel like they go and they put on their best performance. They go and they show off. It's almost like a little tryout, if you will. That's why Ellie De La Cruz dominates against the Dodgers every year, and Matt McClain and these young guys when they're healthy and out there. But yeah, the Reds usually do good on the West Coast. They usually don't, Chad. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I mean, I guess I am. I like not in a mean way. The Reds are not very good on the West Coast. They're horrible on the West Coast. That's why I said on Monday, if you would have told me that the Reds would have taken 2 of 3 from the Giants, I would have been thrilled with that. Well, they did. And the only reason I'm not thrilled is because they didn't do anything different than what they were doing when they were losing. They were still struggling to put runs up on the board, and they were still pitching really, really well. You're not going to win games scoring 2 or less runs. But the Reds did do just enough to take the series from the Giants, and we'll see what they're able to do coming up against the Pirates here this weekend. No Reds baseball tonight. The Reds are off. Coming up after the Justin Kinner Show, we will have Cards Subject to Change with Benjamin Chimera, Big Kev and company. If you're a wrestling fan, every Thursday night we have a 2-hour wrestling program called Cards Subject to Change. So Benjamin Chimera and company will be on immediately following this show at 6 o'clock. So keep that in mind. But no Reds baseball tonight. They'll return tomorrow. Ron Howard says the Reds can't hit now. How are they going to hit Skeens? Now, the good thing for the Reds is they do avoid Paul Skeens coming up. At least I believe so. Yeah. So the Reds will throw Brady Singer tomorrow. It looks like games 2 and 3 against the Pirates, they don't have a pitcher set there. So Brady Singer will be on the mound for the Pirates on the 11th. And then it looks like they have it empty because my guess is Andrew Abbott is probably going to get that Saturday start against the Pirates in game 2. And then we're right back to the top of the order with Hunter Green. So there you go. Yesterday we had a chance. Obviously, Hunter Green pitched in game 1 against the Giants, Nick Lodolo in game 2 against the Giants. And then yesterday we saw Nick Martinez. Nick Martinez is somebody that I really want to talk about now because as this rotation starting to get healthier, it is pretty interesting because I am starting to really doubt that the Reds made the right decision with Nick Martinez. Because when you're going to pay a pitcher $22.5 million, I expect that starter to go out there and look like Nick Lodolo and Hunter Green. And unfortunately, Nick Martinez is very, very good at looking like Nick Lodolo and Hunter Green in innings 1 through 4, but that's where it falls apart. That's where we start to see it unravel for Nick Martinez, and that's not all his fault. That is not Nick Martinez's fault. Keep in mind, I don't want to ever punish Nick Martinez for rising up to the occasion last year and providing leadership and talent and availability and for a position group that was decimated. You know, last year when the Reds experienced every injury imaginable to their rotation, it's the whole reason that Rhett Lauder got called up to begin with. Rhett Lauder was not called up based on the proper timeline of his expected call-up. I'm sorry. It's because of how decimated they were. Nick Martinez started the season in the bullpen, was called up late to be a starter because they had nobody else to throw out of the rotation. And then he ended up being outstanding. He was phenomenal last year in the final month and some change as a starter. And then the Reds were kind of put in a tough spot where they can extend a qualifying offer. And whether or not he would accept it or not, that was up to him. And I think that, a lot of people thought that because of the great month and a half, 2 months that he had out of the rotation, that he was going to go pursue a long-term deal elsewhere. So the Reds gave him the qualifying offer because if you extend the qualifying offer and they reject it, you get a draft pick for it. You get a compensatory pick for it. And I almost wonder if the Reds were kind of shocked that he accepted accepted the offer. $22.5 million is what he has paid for the 2025 season. Nick Martinez, for the third straight game, cannot make it out of the fifth inning. We have watched Carson Spires, who only pitched 2 games for the Reds, make it into the 7th inning. Brady Singer has been dominant. Nick Lodolo, Hunter Green have been dominant. And right now, Nick Martinez is dominant in innings 1 through 4, and then it unravels. It unravels, and that's what we saw yesterday. So we saw Rogers come in to kind of obviously take over for Martinez, but Martinez just goes 5 2/3 of an inning, giving up 4 runs on 7 hits. All of the runs earned. He did strike out 8, but all 8 of those strikeouts coming in the first couple of innings. My point is $22.5 million for Nick Martinez. Nick Martinez has actually been very, very good, but he seems so underwhelming because I expect more for a guy that's making $22.5 million. And yes, I keep bringing that up over and over and over. He's responsible for 19% of the Reds' payroll. This is a team that doesn't spend a lot of money. And when you look at the fact that you've paid him $22.5 million and he can't even make it out of the 5th inning, that's a problem. That's a problem. Because you look at all the deficiencies and all the holes on this roster, they could have just let him go, and that $22.5 million, imagine how many other impact players they could have got for that $22.5 million. It's not his fault. He got that offer because he earned it. He got that offer because he was really, really good last year. And to be fair, for innings 1 through 4, he's been fantastic in innings 1 through 4 this season. But he's proving that he doesn't have the stamina and durability to pitch deep into ball games because he's supposed to be a bullpen arm. And I feel like the Reds are going to be stubborn and not want to utilize him in a bullpen role because of the $22.5 million. I think if the Reds wanted to be serious about winning and making sure that they continue to keep these arms fresh and keep them ready to go and keep this deep, I think Nick Martinez needs to be moved to the bullpen. I think they need to ignore the $22.5 million, even though I seem to have a problem doing that. They need to ignore the $22.5 million. He needs to be moved to the bullpen. And I think the second that Rhett Lauder gets completely healthy, I think Rhett Lauder needs to be called up immediately to be the 5th starter in this rotation. I think that the rotation for the Reds needs to be Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo with Brady Singer and as your 3rd pitcher, Andrew Abbott as your 4th pitcher, and Rhett Lauder needs to be your 5th pitcher. And I want to see, especially with what we've seen as of late from this pitching staff, it's been pretty dang good. When you look at Tony Santillan, who's been outstanding. When you look at Graham Ashcraft, who has not given up a run since being moved to the bullpen. I know we're only a few weeks into the season, but he's been phenomenal in the bullpen. Tony Santillan's been great. You traded for, you got Rogers in the offseason. You're about to get potentially Alexis Diaz back here in the near future. And if you have some guys that can come in, what happens when Nick Lodolo all of a sudden does start to get a little tired and he gets taken out in the 5th inning? Who's going to come in and eat those innings? You don't want to wear out the bullpen. I think when you have a guy like Nick Martinez who can go out there and throw extended innings and dominant extended innings, I want Nick Martinez. I want Rogers. I want Graham Ashcraft. I want those to be my extended innings guys. I want those guys to be the innings eaters. I want those guys to be guys that you can count on when the rotation just doesn't have it that night. We can call to the bullpen and know we got a guy that could go out there and throw for 2 to 3 innings of high stuff, of big-time stuff. And I know Nick Martinez could do it. Graham Ashcraft could do it. Rogers could do it. And that's what makes this Reds team so dangerous at this point, is because of their pitching. But what also makes them dangerous to themselves is their inability to hit the baseball. And that's what's pretty frustrating about this team at this point. 7 of the last 10 games, the Reds have scored 2 runs or less. It's not good enough. Just not good enough. But do you guys agree? 937-518-1410. Did the Reds make a mistake extending the qualifying offer to Nick Martinez? Am I making something out of nothing? He technically still pitched good enough to win the ball game yesterday. He gave up 4 runs. The Reds had a 6-1 lead. The Reds lose 8-6. Technically, they were still in position to win that ball game, even with the shaky outing by Nick Martinez late. But do you think they made a mistake? 937-518. You could text or call that number. We'll get to your responses when we come back. More Reds talk when we return. All right, and we are back. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Off and rolling here on a Thursday. Head to wingam.com for the pick your trip or choose your trip contest. All you got to do is just be listening for the winning word that's released each and every hour. You enter it at wingam.com, and you'll have a chance to win a trip to, well, basically anywhere that you want to go. And all the details are on the website at wingam.com. So go and check that out. Head to wingam.com right now. Your winning word for the 3 o'clock hour is food. FOOD. Enter the winning word food at wingam.com for your chance to choose your trip. All information and details on the Choose Your Trip contest are at wingam.com. Nick Martinez, four brilliant innings, I should say, yesterday, and then it fell apart in the 5th inning, just like all 3 of his starts have been. And you got to start to ask yourself, the big question I had is Nick Martinez, the reason he was such a dominant pitcher is because technically he's a bullpen guy. And because the Reds had so many key injuries last year down the stretch, he immediately got pushed into the rotation due to need more than, his overall ability to be a starter, which he could do both. He's a better he's not a closer. He's a better bullpen arm than a starter, but he's shown that he can be a pretty solid starter, nonetheless. And Nick Martinez always looks great early. Innings 1 through 3, almost unhittable. 1 through 4 has been very solid. It's the 5th inning where it gets a little dicey. And we've seen 3 starts now where that's been the case. I think we've seen enough now that you're starting to kind of see some patterns develop. I was hesitant to buy into any of the pitchers' success or failures early because you need to see a bigger sample size. Now, we're still not a ton of games into the season by any means. But I've seen enough of Nick Martinez to know that, my gosh, he can give you an absolute ton in short spurts of time. He can give you a decent amount over a longer period of time, but he's not very trustworthy once you start to get into that 5th, 6th, and 7th inning mark. So when you could rely on a guy for 1 to 3 strong innings, he's a bullpen guy. But when you're paying someone $22.5 million, when you make $22.5 million on a roster for a team that doesn't like to spend money, there's a bullseye and expectation mark on your back. And that's kind of where we're at with Nick Martinez. He's 34 years old. This was the write-up that Lance McAllister had on him that I came across earlier. Shout out to Lance McAllister with 700 WLW. But Lance McAllister, the write-up that he has on Nick Martinez, he said something to consider. The 34-year-old was really good in 2024. He pitched 142 innings as a reliever and a starter. His ERA was under 1 in all 5 starts that he had down the stretch in the month of September when he won NL Pitcher of the Month. He was also named Reds Pitcher of the Year by, of course, the local beat writers. There wasn't a whole lot to go off of last year. Probably should have been Hunter Green, but I think because Nick Martinez, his leadership and his ability to adapt from the bullpen to the rotation and be so dominant in doing so, I mean, that he was lights out in the month of September. An ERA under 1. He was unhittable. And he's unhittable in innings 1 through 4, as we talked about. Things just start to unravel after that. I think right now, when you make $21 million, you're making about 19% of the payroll. I think if you are the front office, I think you have to try to convince yourself that 21 mil doesn't exist. I do not think he needs to be in the rotation. Andrew Abbott should be back. I believe he's like, I looked at the expected starters for the Pirates series, and what it looks like at this point for the Cincinnati Reds, it does look like there's just a vacant spot right now in the schedule for what's ahead, which means that they are probably going to be announcing that Andrew Abbott's going to get that start after Brady Singer is going to get the start tomorrow night. Saturday, there's nobody in that spot. I'm assuming that's going to be Andrew Abbott. That's where Carson Spires has been pitching. I believe we're going to see Andrew Abbott come in there. I think if Andrew Abbott comes in and pitches really well, it goes right back to the top of the order with Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo. I think you have to give Nick Martinez probably another start. But the second that you have a chance to get Rhett Lauder back once he's healthy, I think Rhett Lauder needs to be your 5th starter in this rotation. I think that Andrew Abbott needs to be your 4th pitcher in this rotation. I think that Brady Singer needs to be 3rd and Nick Lodolo 2, with Hunter Green being your ace and your number 1. Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Brady Singer, Andrew Abbott, Rhett Lauder. I think that is a hell of a rotation. I think the fact that you have Nick Martinez, who, if you ever do run into an injury bug, that you know damn well you could call him in to be one of your guys in the rotation. You don't have to call somebody up. You don't have to maneuver the roster all around. I think that he provides, he's a Swiss Army knife as far as that goes. You also have guys like Graham Ashcraft, who has started in his past, but he's another one. Graham Ashcraft and Nick Martinez are very similar. They can go out there and for the first 2, 3, 4 innings, unhittable. The longer the game goes on, they start to unravel. They can't. It's like they have more in them than just what you need out of a bullpen arm for 1 or 2 innings. But then they also don't give you enough to truly trust them in a rotation either. I think that's what makes them very, very good and reliable bullpen arms, because those extended outings that they need to, when they go to the bullpen and they can get an extended outing from somebody on the day that the rotation doesn't have it, I think having guys like Graham Ashcraft and like, of course, Nick Martinez is huge. I want to see Nick Martinez start again, maybe 1, 2 more games just to be sure. But I think we've seen 3 starts where he's unhittable innings 1 through 4, and then it unravels after that. I'm very curious to see what the Reds do with him and kind of adjust his role as we move along. Ron Howard said he should have got the win yesterday. I mean, he pitched well enough to get the win yesterday, no doubt. I mean, when you pitch well enough to get the win, and the team that has scored 2 or less runs in 7 of the last 10 games somehow has 6 runs up on the board, it was an inexcusable loss. That loss is on Terry Francona. We're 13 games into the season, and I just kind of feel like at this point we've had 3 or 4 games where they should have been Reds victories. You look at the 3 straight games where the Reds lose 1-0, you should at least have 2 of those. I can't get cocky and say they should have had all 3 of those, but at least 2 of 3. You should accidentally put 2 runs up on the board to take care of business in 3 straight 1-0 losses. So I think you should get 1 or 2 of those back. I think if you could do it again, you get opening day back with the decision to go to Ian Jabot in the bottom of the 9th there, or the top of the 9th. That really screwed him over. So bad decisions continue to pile up for the handling of this bullpen when it comes to Terry Francona. His excuse for yesterday was Yastrzemski when he was up. He said, well, the reason he decided to, despite Pagan showing signs of slowing down, he said, well, he was 1 for 6 against Pagan in his career. So he was kind of leading into the analytical route, whatever. Still the wrong decision. Still the wrong decision when it was all said and done. There's just too many games in the early going where the Reds, they're 50-50 outcomes, and they should have really been Reds outcomes when it's all said and done. We'll see what ends up happening. Shaw brings up Ellie. With Ellie in the lineup, that should be a run or 2 every night. Look, at least every other night. The Reds should never go 3 straight nights being shut out. I think Ellie De La Cruz, at the very least, should be involved in some kind of run-producing play every other game at the very least. Things are getting weird with my take on this Ellie De La Cruz thing. I'm very surprised at how much pushback I'm getting. It's actually starting to feed my theory about Joey Votto the more and more that this goes along. I miss doing the show with Mark Schlemmer. I miss Schlemmer all the time. I mean, one take that Schlemmer and I used to talk about all the time was the Cincinnati market is soft when it comes to media. It's on full display during football season. You have way too many fanboy beat writers out there that care more about Joe Burrow winking at him or talking to him in a press conference than actually covering the team. It's annoying, but it is what it is. It's not just the Bengals, it's the Reds. There's way too many. I mean, you think of the Hall of Famer, Hal McCoy. The one reason that Hal McCoy has so many issues with the Reds ownership and front office over the years, whether it goes back to Mark Schott, whether it's this current ownership group, it's because Hal McCoy is a Hall of Famer. Hal McCoy is one of the best to ever do it. Hal McCoy, a friend of the show, love Hal. Hal called it down the middle. Hal would write what he thought and what he was seeing and what his opinion was and just the facts. He didn't sugarcoat it. And I feel like if you're a reporter, you should be less worried about being liked by the team and more about making sure that you are not writing fluff pieces of it. Hal McCoy is not a fluff piece guy. Hal McCoy knows what he's doing. The fact that Hal McCoy, it's not, I mean, I don't ever want to make it sound like it's overly aggressive, but Hal McCoy has he's butted heads with ownership. Hal McCoy put his friendship with Pete Rose to the side to be a professional. He had to cover the Pete Rose scandal almost at the expense of the friendship. And luckily they were able to fix that friendship, many, many years ago. well before Pete's passing, luckily. But I loved hearing the stories of how sharing those Pete Rose stories, and some of them weren't the best stories in regards to, weren't the best for Hal, losing a friend for a good chunk of time, and hearing how they kind of ran into one another in Vegas and were able to kind of fix some of their problems. I thought that was a very cool story. But Hal's one of those, he's going to put the job first. He's going to be professional. There's not a lot of Hal McCoys or any Hal McCoys left in today's media landscape in Cincinnati. So I'm getting somewhere with this. My point is Cincinnati, if you are a star, you want to be in Cincinnati. It's a soft media market. There is zero accountability. Fans don't hold you accountable. Media doesn't hold you accountable. It is the perfect place to be. If you want to come and play baseball for the Reds or football for the Bengals, all you have to do is just show up, smile, and the fans and media will let you off the hook with everything. Elly De La Cruz has been so horrifically bad lately that I don't know why me saying that he's been playing bad, makes me a hot take guy. Oh, there's Kinner with the hot take. He's hitting 167 in April. Oh, but he's hitting 250. He leads the team in RBIs. He has 12 RBIs. Yeah, he had 7 of those in one game. He had another 4 of those in another. He's not producing runs. He's not advancing runners. He's not getting on base. And when he does get on base, he's getting thrown out. Last night, finally, we did see him step to the plate and drive in a couple runs, but then he was making some errors out on the base paths. My point with all of this, Elly De La Cruz is an elite player. Elly De La Cruz will probably finish the regular season with a great stat line. But I'm not giving you my opinion on what I think Ellie's going to do big picture. I'm not giving you my opinion on what I think Ellie's numbers are going to look like after 162. I'm giving you my opinion based on what I'm seeing right now. And what I'm seeing right now is a guy that in 36 at-bats, he has struck out a third of those. He has struck out 12 times in 36 at-bats in the month of April. He's striking out. He's lining out. He's not getting on base. When he does get on base, he's getting thrown out. He's overthrowing Christian Encarnacion Strand, committing errors left and right. And then the other problem is, and on the plays where he's not committing an error, Christian Encarnacion Strand, he's having to tow that bag and stretch to bring some of these just simple everyday throws in. Now, I know you're probably saying, Kidder, you've said this the last couple of shows. It's because it's evolving. And the reason I brought up Joey Votto and the conversations I used to have with Schlemmer on this show is because I always questioned Joey Votto's competitive toughness, because I never felt like Joey Votto truly was a high-end competitor in regards to caring about whether the team won or not. Joey Votto always held the cards in regards to whether or not he can demand a trade. He never did. When the Reds mocked the fan base and did the "where are you going to go?", Joey Votto was nowhere to be found. Well, that's not true. He was on TikTok and dressing up in Pokemon outfits and doing weird stuff. While the ownership group is mocking the fans, you had the face of your franchise playing dress up on TikTok and trying to entertain you that way. I didn't need that. I needed the face of the franchise to come out and say, yeah, guys, that's ownership group. That's unacceptable. I'm watching Myles Garrett be a leader with the Cleveland Browns, going in there and saying, hey, if you aren't going to do stuff to help us win, get me the hell out of here. All right. I watched Joe Burrow be a leader and go on every media tour possible to put the pressure on the front office to do the right thing. Joe Burrow was letting it be known, I'm not happy with how we're doing things here. Right? Like, we see this in every sport. Athletes, superstar athletes, when they care, they let you know. And at no point, with all the losing, the Reds experienced 3 different rebuilds during the Joey Votto era, and at no point did I feel like he cared enough to go to the front office and say, enough's enough. I know all Reds fans would have been team Joey Votto had he demanded a trade to say, I've been a part of enough here. I need to go somewhere and win. We would have all supported that. We wouldn't have liked it. We would have supported it, though, right? So I bring that up because one thing Schlemmer and I used to talk about all the time is it's safe to play in Cincinnati. You could play in Cincinnati, and as long as you put up your numbers, media's going to leave you alone. They're not going to hold you accountable for anything. Just go be you. Who cares? Elly De La Cruz, we're seeing it now. Except Ellie's not putting up numbers, and people get super defensive when you point out that he's not playing well. Elly is not playing well. I got into a debate with Jacob and Elliot today on Off the Bench. We'll have that for you coming up here in a little bit as well. But we got into it earlier today because, well, the advanced analytics show that he's actually playing pretty okay. And I'm like, pretty okay? Ellie De La Cruz, you don't put pretty okay players on MLB The Show video game covers. You don't put pretty okay on every team marquee and every promotional graphic out there for pretty okay. There's a lot of guys that could be pretty okay. And at the end of the day, Ellie De La Cruz is way better than pretty okay. He's just not really good right now. And being critical of a superstar athlete like Ellie De La Cruz is not hating. It's not clickbait. It's not me with a hot take. It's not stirring the pot. Cincinnati is a soft market. If you could be as bad as Ellie De La Cruz and still have people come to his defense. I'm not asking for him to be cut. I'm not asking for him to be sent down to the minors or optioned somewhere. I'm not asking for him to be benched. I'm not asking for him to be yelled at by Terry Francona. I'm just giving my take on a guy that is the face of a franchise now. And when his team has scored 2 or less runs in 7 of the last 10, and he's hitting 167 during that stretch and doing nothing to contribute towards it, actually he's contributing towards the struggles. I think that's a fair point. I really do. Not hating, not stirring the pot. It's facts. It's facts. Not, well, what else does he need to do? What do you mean, what else does he need to do? He is literally doing what everyone else in this lineup is doing and not a damn thing. But the difference is Ellie has such a high ceiling that he has the expectation to do these things, and he's not doing it. That's the problem. I see Chad Kinster chiming in. Chad says, Ellie consistently has made major mistakes on defense. Nothing will change with that until he slows himself down a little bit. Now, here's where I'm going to meet some people halfway on some of the issues with Ellie De La Cruz. Is I do believe, just like we know, he knows how little help he has on this team. Matt McClain is constantly in and out of the lineup. Tyler Stevenson, we got an update on him on the pregame of Game 1 of the Giants series, where Terry Francona said that he is progressing nicely, but still a long ways away from being able to play in a game. So Tyler Stevenson's nowhere close to coming back. Matt McClain's in and out of the lineup constantly. He's on the IL as we currently sit here right now. The Reds were desperate when they brought up Will Benson, who went 0 for yesterday and was horrible. And Noelvi Marte is brought back up again. The only slight positive news, I guess you could say, is that Austin Hayes is going to be making a rehab start this week over in Louisville with the Bats. So that's good. Might be getting him back soon. But a slight defense of Ellie is, I think Ellie is feeling the pressure of knowing what I'm saying. Not, he doesn't know who I am, nor does he care. My point is I think what I'm saying is when everyone else is being so bad, the one guy that you should be able to count on to be who he is Ellie De La Cruz. Ellie needs to be better at the plate. He needs to be better on the base pass. He needs to be better defensively because that's who he is. So while everyone else is playing poorly, if he lives up to the back of the net, the numbers on the back of the baseball card, this team has probably squeaked out a few more wins already. This team is better just by him being better. But when this team stinks and he stinks, it's a recipe for disaster. It really is. And I think that he knows that. And I think that's why he's pressing offensively. I think that's why he's so bad in the box right now. I think he's striking out a ton because he feels, I have to swing at this. I have to put this ball in play. He's getting thrown out because I think he's forcing some of these steals now because he feels like he has to be the one to put somebody in scoring position. So I'm also sympathizing with him. I think he understands that. And I think that's what's also leading to the problem. This is his second full year in the big leagues. Third year overall, but second full year starting from spring training on. He's still young. So when everyone throws those excuses at me, I'm like, you're not telling me something I don't know. I'm aware of those things. I'm still telling you what we're witnessing, and we're witnessing a guy hitting 167 while a lot of media and fanboys are telling you, yeah, but the advanced analytics, he's going to be fine. Well, when he becomes fine, my opinion will change. As of right now, he needs to be better. And for the Reds to be better, he has to be better. It's as simple as that. All right. The Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. David Shaw, we never agree on much, but he says he's not good right now. It's okay to say that. We do agree on this. When I say Ellie is not good right now, I am not saying Ellie is a bad baseball player. When I say Ellie De La Cruz is not good right now, I am not saying to cut him. When I am saying Ellie De La Cruz is not good right now, I am not saying to demote him. When I am saying Ellie De La Cruz is not good right now, I am not saying to bench him. When I say Ellie De La Cruz is not good right now, guys, it's because Ellie De La Cruz is not good right now. That's not a hot take. That's not shock jock guy. That's not Kinner with one of his horrible takes. That's not Kinner hating on local teams like you. No. If me saying that a guy that's hitting 167 in the month of April and has struck out a third of his 36 at-bats, that's 12 for the math folks out there. If me saying that that's bad, I don't think I'm the problem here. I think you are. And if you have a problem with me saying that, I think you're the problem, not me. Reds are off today. We'll see if a day off can kind of be what this team needs. Keep in mind, too, this team's played, my gosh, when was the last off day that they had? Are we surprised? By the way, the Reds have been, I don't know if lucky is the right word, but I don't know the last time the Reds have made it this far into the month of April without a rain delay or cancel. Have they? I don't think they've had a delay or a postponement. They've gotten every game in. The Reds, today's the 10th. It's the off day. The Reds have not had an off day since March 28th. That's a lot of baseball. That's a lot of, that's a lot of consecutive days without a day off. We're talking 12 straight days. That's almost 2 straight weeks of playing baseball without a break. They need today off. And maybe that's what this team needs. Just a simple off day. They've had no rain delays. They've had no rain cancellations, postponements, nothing, which is pretty remarkable. Now, going on the West Coast kind of helps with that, but hell, they've even been at home. You go to Milwaukee, they play in the Dome, so that helps. You in San Francisco and the West Coast, that helps. They do return home this weekend. The flooding does seem like that's been under control over in Cincinnati, especially around the ballpark, so there shouldn't be any issue there. We'll see. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Hour number 2 coming up.
CordellTransportation.com. Do it right now. Driven to succeed.
Benjamin Chimera and Big Kev bring you Dayton's only local sports talk show dedicated to professional wrestling. Don't miss Cards Subject to Change. Every Thursday night at 6 p.m. right here on 1410 ESPN Radio and on the iHeartRadio app. The Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we are back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers. You also just heard it, Card Subject to Change with Benjamin Chimera, coming up immediately following this show at 6 o'clock. 6 to 8 coming up here in just a little bit. Chad Kinster on Facebook. By the way, top of the hour. What do we got? 4:05 here in the Miami Valley. Appreciate you guys tuning in and hanging out with us here on Thursday. I mentioned it was off the last 2 days over in Mason at Prasco Park for the Joe Nuxall Classic, in collaboration with Chatterbox Sports. I mean, they ran the production, the replays, everything, on the cameras, the talent, everything. Appreciate all the work that they did. But that's a very cool. Prasco Park is unbelievable. For those of you who've never been out there, highly suggest you get a chance to go out there if your high school team's playing out there, college, whatever. The Joe Nuxall Classic features Wright State, Miami of Ohio, Xavier, and Cincinnati, and it's in a tournament format. It's not just you try to play every team there. Wright State knocked off Cincinnati in the first night, and then they beat Xavier last night to win the Joe Nuxall Classic Championship. So pretty cool getting to see Wright State go up against some of those bigger schools and do what they consistently do when they go up against bigger schools, and that's knock them off and come away with 2 big wins before they get back to conference play this weekend. Still a month of college baseball left before you even get to the postseason and all that, but nonetheless, pretty cool last couple of days getting to be a part of that. But we're back off and rolling. The Reds, of course, over the last couple of days, they take their 2 or 3 against the Giants. They get their first series win of the season. And they off day. They have not had an off day. What did we say? I have the schedule right in front of me. They have not had an off day since March 28th. I mean, to go 12 straight days, almost 2 weeks without an off day is pretty remarkable. Usually you get a lot of rain and weather delays or just postponements. And the fact that we are entering, the mid-April part and they have yet to have a postponement is pretty impressive. But also this team has just been grinding. Right, you play the Giants right off the bat, then you got the Rangers, and then you immediately turn around and hit the road. You can play 4 against divisional foe Milwaukee. No weather issues there when you play in a dome, and then to hit, go back to the West Coast and take on San Fran for 3 and take 2 of those. An off day today, you got 3 with Pittsburgh, 3 with Seattle, and 3 with Baltimore. You also got a series with the Marlins coming up as well. There's some winnable series. Colorado's coming up. St. Louis is an opportunity. The month of April, it's such an important month because I think we're going to learn a lot about the Reds. We've seen them play some tough teams already. The Giants are 9-3. All 3 of their losses against the Reds. The Giants are very, very good. That's a good team that's going to be right there in the mix for the postseason when it's all said and done. Milwaukee's a favorite to contend for the division. They were right there with them too. So, the Reds have a chance. They get shut out 1-0 in game 1. That was so improbable. The probability of that happening again, where the Reds lose 3 straight 1-0 games. So for the Reds to lose a game 1 of a 4-game series 1-0, they didn't get swept in that series. That's a game when you held Milwaukee to only 1 run. You need to win that game. Reds are going to win more of those games than not. But it's just the fact that it did. So you stubbed your toe early, 3 games under 500. It's still important that the Reds find a way to continue battling, get to that 12-win mark in the month of April, and they'll have a shot to keep this boat afloat, if you will, to extend the interest that people have in the team deeper into the season. The pitching is outstanding. What we're seeing from them pitching-wise, that we should be screaming from the mountaintop about how phenomenal this pitching has been. Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo. Brady Singer's been unreal. We're going to see Andrew Abbott make his debut for the 25 season coming up, I believe, on Saturday night. They haven't made that official yet, technically, but they do have that spot open. When you look at the upcoming pitchers, they have that spot open. Andrew Abbott, it's only a matter of time before they announce that. They did announce Austin Hayes, the key outfielder that they added from the Orioles in the offseason, former All-Star. He is making a couple rehab starts over with the Orioles. So he'll get some at-bats there. Could potentially see him So the Reds have the Pirates this weekend. My guess, they have 3 with the Pirates, another off day on Monday. I would assume the Reds could probably, if I had to guess, get Austin Hayes back by the 15th when they start a series with Seattle, also at home. I don't think we're going to see Austin Hayes in the Pittsburgh series. I could see him being called back up or called up for the first time to make his debut with the Reds, probably by the 15th to start that 3-game series with Seattle, or he gets a full week of some rehab at bats in and then, hits the road with the Reds when they go take on Baltimore. So we'll see what happens there when it's all said and done. Chad Kinser Real quick, we'll go to Shaw's take quick before we change topics. David Shaw says, hope to take 2 of 3 from the Pirates. They don't face Skeens. Yeah, they do avoid Paul Skeens in that as well. I would have loved to seen Hunter Green versus Paul Skeens head-to-head. How cool would that be? But nonetheless. Chad Kinser. Well, technically, Ron Howard started it. He said, NFL draft ? What are the Clowns going to do? We'll get to that. Chad says, I'm a Bengals fan, but I think Justin may agree with me on this a bit. I think the Browns should focus on a quarterback and possibly running back due to Chubb's knee. I don't even know. Am I wrong in saying that they have yet to announce what they've done with Nick Chubb? Nick Chubb, I don't think they've announced an extension with him. But yeah, they have a lot that they need to address. And I don't think they're going to get anything. I think if they can come across one of the top running backs in the draft coming up, which is wild that it's 2 weeks from tonight. Got 2 weeks left till the draft. If the Browns can come away with the Quinshon Judkins or someone like that, I could see them. Maybe they lean in to Nick Chubb again. Maybe you get a Quinshon Judkins and you bring Nick Chubb back. I'm fascinated to see what they do from that standpoint. I did see, speaking of Quinshon Judkins, he was in Cincinnati yesterday or the day before. He had shared on his Snapchat that he was in. He was at Paycor Stadium. So he's there with a team visit. Would be interesting to see if the Bengals landed a Quinshon Judkins going younger on the running back route as well out of the draft. A lot of Bengals fans upset because there's some people out there pushing that, hey, if there's an opportunity to get one of the top running backs in the draft, like, I mean, I've seen James Rapine. I know we've talked about it on our show on Off the Bench. If for whatever reason Ashton Jeanty does fall out of the top 10 and does happen to fall all the way to 17, I'm always looking for reasons to poke fun at your Cincinnati Bengals, but I'm here to tell you, I might poke fun at them more if they let Ashton Jeanty go than if they draft him at 17. People out there are like, it's so dumb to even consider taking a running back at 17. It can't be dumb to consider taking a running back at 17, considering the running back that they would have to consider taking is so good that the probability of him even being there at 17 is pretty slim. It's pretty slim. But he is a playmaking running back. He is a once-in-a-lifetime type of running back from all the write-ups and the descriptions of him. It would surprise me big time if the Bengals, who, by the way, they have the smallest scouting department in the NFL, which means if they are taking the time to visit with you, they don't have a lot of arms. They don't have a lot of help. They don't have a lot of bodies. So if they're taking the time to meet with you, you are probably a big-time high priority of theirs. I mean, you have teams the Pittsburgh Steelers are meeting with Shedeur Sanders. I mean, Pittsburgh's not going to get Shedeur Sanders. But when you have these teams who have, actual scouting departments, there is no stone that's left unturned. They are going to overturn every stone to make sure that they talk to everybody, that they touched everybody to make sure that they are as buttoned up and have as much homework done on these guys as possible. The Bengals can't do that because of their small scouting department, so they have to maximize the time that they do meet with these individuals, which means they need to be pretty high up on their board for them to meet with. So the fact that Quinshon Judkins, that they met with him recently, I think that says a lot. I just don't know if Judkins is available in the third round. I think that could be a second-round pick for the Bengals. I think they're going to go pass rusher in the first, playmaker in the second round. We'll see what they end up doing there, but there's not a lot. They need guards. Not a lot of great guards in this draft. I don't think that there are difference-making pass rushers in this draft either. I don't think you're not getting a Myles Garrett. You're not getting a Max Crosby. You're not going to get a Trey Hendrickson in this draft. So if you're drafting for need, you're going to go pass rusher. But I feel like you're going to get a complimentary pass rusher. I don't think you're going to get a difference maker. If you have a chance to get a guy that could be a difference maker, I do think that the Bengals need to consider that there at number 17. As far as the Browns go, I've shared this, by the way. It seems like everyone is leaning towards, after the most recent pro day visit in Colorado, that the Browns are potentially leaning towards taking Travis Hunter. I'm here to tell you, I want nothing to do with Travis Hunter. Nothing. And it's not because I don't think he's good. I think the kid's super talented. I just don't know what he checks off for the Browns at this point. And you're saying, well, Kinder, that's probably the dumbest thing you've ever said. How can you say he doesn't make the Browns better? Think about what the Browns need at this point and where they're at. You told Myles Garrett you had a plan. Okay, is that plan Travis Hunter? You bring Travis Hunter in. He's a wide receiver and he's a defensive back. And he wants to play both sides, all snaps, all the time. So you're going to use a high pick. You're going to use the number 2 pick to land a guy to play every snap on offense and defense and increase the chances of him getting hurt. And so you're going to use your number 2 overall draft pick on a guy that could easily get hurt if you play him on both sides of the ball. Well, Kenner, who's to say that they're going to play him on both sides of the ball? That's a great point. So you're going to use your number 2 pick on Travis Hunter, the defensive back. Travis Hunter, the defensive back that The Athletic and Sports Illustrated have also listed him as the 3rd or 4th best defensive back in the draft. So you're going to use your number 2 pick to get the 3rd or 4th best defensive back in the draft. No. That's a no for me, dog. I'll pass. All right. Well, what about Travis Hunter, the wide receiver? Oh, you mean the 4th best wide receiver in this draft class. You're going to use the number 2, but people thought it was almost crazy of the Bengals to use their number 4 pick on the number 1 wide receiver in their draft. But I'm supposed to be happy for the Browns drafting Travis Hunter, the number 4 ranked wide receiver in this draft. No, that's a no for me. I'm going to pass on that as well. Travis Hunter playing both sides of the ball every snap does not intrigue me. This is the NFL. This is not high school. I've called high school football on 1410 ESPN Radio for almost 10 years now with Keith Byers. We watch high school. That's where you want to be obsessed with guys playing offense and defense due to need. Enjoy it on Friday nights here in the Miami Valley. I don't want to see that on Sundays. I don't want to see it on Sundays. I mean, Travis Hunter, you do not need to play. And he's most likely going to lean towards wide receiver because, well, did you see what Jamar Chase got paid? Do you seeing what these wide receivers are getting paid? He's going to go in the direction that is going to put him in position to make the most money. He's going to be a wide receiver. All right, he's wide receiver. You're going to take the 4th best wide receiver in this draft. You need a player that's going to help you win now. Does Travis Hunter, the defensive back, help the Browns win now? I mean, sure, he could be a very, very good defensive back, but there's a lot of good defensive backs in this draft that you could actually probably get in the 2nd or 3rd round. The Browns already have a very good secondary to begin with. They already have one of the best pass rushers in football. Yes, I would love to add another depth piece, but with the number 2 overall pick, once again, that's a no for me. I don't want you playing both sides of the ball to increase your chance. Because let's say he plays both sides of the ball and he is elite at both sides, but you increase the chances of getting hurt. That's a no for me. 3rd best defensive back in the draft, I'll pass. You don't take that guy with the number 2 pick. 4th best wide receiver in the draft, you don't take the 4th best wide receiver with the number 2 pick in the draft. Because not only is he the 4th ranked wide receiver in this draft, if you go to Cleveland is not Cincinnati where you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but let's not act like what we witnessed last year with Jerry Jeudy was not impressive. You know, it's one thing when you put up the numbers that T. Higgins and Jamar Chase do when you have Joe Burrow throwing you the football. When you have Jerry Jeudy have a breakout year with bums throwing you the football in an offense that averaged 14 points per game, you put up 1,300 yards. I mean, a big-time playmaker. Jerry Jeudy was fantastic last year. Is Travis Hunter better than him? No. Did you see him try to run routes at the pro day? He just chopped his feet. He just turned his shoulders right. He turned his shoulders left, chopped his feet again, did a spin move, did the cha-cha, and then sprinted up the field. He can't run routes. I am not a Travis Hunter guy. I think he's the most overrated guy. When we talk about guys in the top 10, I think he's overrated. I really do. I really, really do. You don't know what he is. And what you do know about what he intends to be, he's not even the best at either of those positions. So you're just impressed with his ability to play both sides when the only reason he played both sides in college is because Colorado was not deep. If Travis Hunter is a Buckeye, I promise you, he's not playing both sides of the ball. If Travis Hunter was playing for Nick Saban at the time at Alabama, he's not playing both sides of the ball. Now, he may get some moments on defense and offense, but at Colorado, he played every snap on both sides of the ball. And what that get you? I'm just not impressed with that. I think good for him. I just don't think that helps Cleveland. The Browns need Shedeur Sanders or they need Abdul Carter. And to be honest with you, if I had to rank the urgency of each individual star for this draft, the Browns need to take Abdul Carter with that number 2 pick. And they need to take Abdul Carter, do whatever you can to get a Kirk Cousins. That puts you in position to have an impactful player for the foreseeable future, along with Myles Garrett, along with Denzel Ward, along with the talent that they have on this roster. And you got to do the typical Browns thing. You got to fight to find a quarterback another day. But for right now, you don't just take the best of the average quarterbacks that are in this draft. If there's no franchise defining quarterback in this draft, you got to let it go. Because the Browns, you guys out there who hate the Browns, who make fun of the Browns, I'm here to tell you, if they draft Shedeur Sanders and it doesn't work, are you going to give the Browns the benefit of the doubt and say, yeah, well, we knew this draft class stunk? You know, it's unfortunate for the Browns, man. They took Shedeur Sanders, who was not great. I mean, everyone said if this is any other draft, he's not going in the top 10. But now people are saying it'd be dumb of the Browns not to take Shedeur Sanders with their number 2 overall pick. But if they draft him and it doesn't work out because he lives up to the scout, to the write-up on him, are you going to give them the benefit of the doubt, or are you just going to blame the Browns and say they ruined him, when the chances of him working out of the NFL at all seem pretty steep at this point, considering all the doubts that people have about him? If you draft him and he doesn't work out, it's because you ruined him. The Browns need to stay away from that narrative. Go get Kirk Cousins. Not saying he's guaranteeing going to put you in a spot to win a Super Bowl, but he's your best shot at putting you in a position to compete and win now, getting Abdul Carter to help you win now and for the foreseeable future. Having Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett as a 1-2 punch on defense with that secondary, oof, I like that way better than taking a chance on Travis Hunter and some of the rumors I'm hearing of the Browns trying to find a way to trade back into the first round to get Shedeur as well. So you're hoping, the Browns are hoping, Shedeur Sanders, that they're going to pass on him at 2. Some people think they should take him at 2 because he's a franchise-level quarterback. How many franchise-level quarterbacks how many teams are passing on Shedeur Sanders at this point? How many have to pass on Shedeur for the Browns to justify trading back into the first round to get him? Joe Burrow-type quarterbacks don't drop. They just don't. Not in today's era of football. Oh, you get a guy later. How many guys in the NFL right now are legitimate dudes from later in the draft? You're going to find examples, don't get me wrong. I know Brock Purdy and all this. But is Brock Purdy a franchise quarterback? I mean, the Niners are sitting here kicking themselves because they might have to give him $55 million, and look how much that's hurt them. People put the pressure on the Dallas Cowboys to give Dak Prescott $55 million, and they did. And look, man, I think he got 60. Now this team can't, he's good, he's okay, but he's not the type of quarterback. Joe Burrow's the type of quarterback you give that money to. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert. I don't know. I'm rambling now. You got me. But Ron Howard says this draft is weak compared to previous ones. Chad Kinster says, I personally think that Shedeur is a bit overrated as well. I agree. I think that if his dad wasn't prime time, I don't think he's getting as much love and attention. If the Browns draft him, I'm going to be excited about it because I want it to work. But I'm going to be a nervous wreck the entire time because the probability of that is pretty slim. And for once, I will say it will not be because of the Browns. To be fair, this idea, I keep saying these things too of like, oh, Shedeur Sanders doesn't want, some in his camp don't want him to go to Cleveland. I'm here to tell you, Cleveland's actually a pretty good spot for Shedeur because of Kevin Stefanski. If you're going to go to any team out there, you might as well go to a team that has a 2-time coach of the year, that has an offensive scheme that every quarterback except the most expensive quarterback of all time and Deshaun Watson, he couldn't figure it out. Every quarterback has had success. That is not DTR, who's just bad, and Deshaun Watson, who is whatever. That's a whole other story itself, right? I think that when you look at the offensive scheme that Stefanski runs, needs a good decision maker, needs an accurate quarterback, that is Shedeur Sanders. He fits what kind of quarterback would have success there, and I think the best chance for him to have success would be Kevin Stefanski's offense. So Shedeur thinking, and this is the thing too, because of who his dad is, he thinks he's too good to go to Cleveland. I just don't think that this kid's as good as what he thinks he is to begin with. But the best chance he has is going to play in Stefanski's offense. You're going to go to New York where they ruin everything as well? What makes you confident? Oh, but Dable. Kevin Stefanski's had way more success with his offensive scheme than the Giants have had with theirs. Simple as that. And mainly the offensive success that they did have. It's kind of funny how that completely disappeared the second that Saquon Barkley left. David Shaw says Carter to the Browns would definitely be a home run. It has to be Abdul Carter, and it sounds like it's not going to be. We'll see. Chad Kinster says Cincinnati, they need corners, and I don't want to see him in stripes either. So I'm with you on that, talking about Travis Hunter. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm not a Travis Hunter guy. I'm just not. Why are we so enamored with something that we only see high schoolers do? Well, that's why. That's what makes it unique. The fact that he could play both sides of the ball. I don't think that's as big of a deal as you guys make it out to be. I think that's a very overrated talking point. He could play both sides of the ball. I mean, you just don't see that. It's because it's not a good thing. I don't think it's a good thing. I've said this before. Bengals fans, Jamar Chase, if we found out that Jamar Chase can actually be a top 5 safety in football while being the best wide receiver in football, would you be comfortable? And I'm being dead serious here. Would you be comfortable with Jamar Chase playing 75% of the snaps on defense for the Bengals as well? No, you wouldn't. Why? Because you would worry about him getting hurt. Same thing with Travis Hunter here. When you have star players, you want to make sure that their time on the field is maximized by what they bring to the table for their certain position group. And you want him out there on offense and defense. So now get this. If you do, let's say that he pans out, you get a guy that's a top 5 wide receiver and a top 5 defensive back in football. That sounds great, right? What happens when he gets hurt? Now you're down a playmaker on offense and a shutdown corner on defense. It's a kick in the pants twice. You know, it's not like in baseball where you lose, Shohei Ohtani, who can't pitch, but he could still be a top 5 hitter in baseball. Hey, he's a top 5 pitcher and a top 5 hitter in baseball when he's healthy. Travis Hunter could be a top 5 wide receiver and a top 5 defensive back in football when he's healthy. But then when he gets hurt, you've now lost your cornerback and your wide receiver. At least in baseball with Shohei, you lose your pitcher, but you still got a top 5 hitter. I think this idea of playing both sides of the ball is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, and we got to stop. We got to stop. The reason you see athletes in high school do it is because don't have as many players out there who are that talented. It's the NFL. Figure it out. I'm not okay with it. I don't want to see it. I don't want Travis Hunter in Cleveland. I will not be excited about the Travis Hunter announcement here in 2 weeks if that's the case. I just won't. Chad says he agrees. It does. It increases the injury probability. Yeah. If Jamar Chase was a top 5 safety in football and the Bengals need defensive back help, let's just say he's a cornerback. Hey, Jamar Chase, he's the number 1 wide receiver in football, but man, he's a shutdown corner as well. He should play corner every snap and wide receiver every snap. That would be a dumb idea because then Jamar Chase gets hurt going up to bat down a ball on defense, comes down, he breaks his ankle coming down. Now he's out for the season. Now you've lost the number 1 wide receiver and a top 5 cornerback. You don't want that. You don't want that. Stay away from Travis Hunter if that's going to be the case. And like I said earlier, let's say he says, okay, I don't want to play both sides of the ball. I just want to be a wide receiver. You don't take the 4th ranked wide receiver in this draft with the number 2 overall pick. I cannot stress that enough. We'll be right back.
True Green. Get a golf course quality lawn for less.
89 Commons Boulevard, Suite 100, Beaver Creek, Ohio, 45431. Cordell.com.
You want hot takes?
No, I'm not going to apologize to Ryan Day. Everything we said about Ryan Day up into the playoffs was true.
Not bad. Come on, Kenner. You can do better than that.
To be fair, of all the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, Joe Burrow is the least accomplished.
Getting better.
1,000,000%. I 1,000,000% believe that the Dayton Flyers are afraid of the Wright State Raiders. That's why they come up with every excuse in the book not to play them.
There it is. The hottest take of them all. It's the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers, live on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, 4:35 here in the Miami Valley. We welcome you back. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. The transfer portal is off and rolling college basketball. The season is officially wrapped up for both men and women's college basketball, of course. And it is kind of wild. So we're quite a few years into this portal NIL world. And it's funny how many times I hear people just complain about NIL. I'm here to tell you, like, NIL, I don't think, like, people say, oh, NIL has ruined college basketball. I really don't think it has. I truly believe that it's the perfect storm of, okay, so these athletes can go wherever they want to chase the money that they want, just like we can. But the problem is I do think that the NIL is not the problem. The portal is the problem. The portal with no restrictions or limitations is a problem. I don't think NIL is. I think NIL is hurting some programs who don't have the funds to compete with others. But I think the smaller schools are getting buried more because of the transfer portal than NIL. It's always been the bigger schools can offer you more than the little schools. The bigger schools have always been able to offer more than the little schools, whether it be the bigger and better and more resources, more swag, more bag money, more fill in the blank, right? Like, we know the flaws in college athletics. I always mock anyone that truly believes that their program does everything 100% buttoned up. You are a delusional fool. The Dayton Flyers, I guarantee you, okay? I guarantee you do things that they shouldn't. I promise that there's a good chance that they do, allegedly. Wink, wink, right? Like, let's just be clear. All right. But the problem is that there's always bigger schools that can offer more. Dayton's no longer the big honcho that they think that they are, which is why as we sit here right now heading into mid-April, there hasn't been a whole lot of activity. There's been more. We've talked more about the players that have left than the players that these teams have added. And I'm trying to figure out, Dayton, you're a basketball school. You know, it's interesting. We had a debate on the show last week on Off the Bench about, Richard Pitino leaving New Mexico to take the Xavier job. And during the introductory press conference, they were asking Richard Pitino regarding, what kind of advice did he get from Rick Pitino, his legendary father over at St. John's. And he talked about how Cincinnati is one of the best jobs in the country. That's talking about Xavier. The Xavier is one of the best coaching jobs in the country. And a lot of people mock that. And I said, no. He's not wrong. Think about that. And Dayton should be, I know it's the A10. The A10 is what hurts them. That's on them, though. Okay, they can't even dominate the A10, but that's on them. Xavier is one of the best basketball jobs in the country because Xavier is a basketball school. Every dollar, every resource that they have goes towards men's basketball. That's why Richard Pitino went to Xavier. I like Cincinnati. I like Dayton, but it's not a destination city. No one is like, man, I really hope this works out in New Mexico so I can uproot my family and move to Cincinnati. Nobody thinks that. But right now, as the opportunities in college athletics shrink, even not opportunities to coach, but opportunities to thrive, Richard Pitino is going to thrive at Xavier before Jake Diebler does at Ohio State at this point. I think Xavier, from a college basketball perspective, I think Xavier is a better job than Dayton. It's a better job than Ohio State. It's a better job than Cincinnati. You guys can all mock me on that, but every dollar that comes into that program is going towards basketball. But Justin, what about Dayton? What about Dayton? Did you see that Wall Street Journal article that came out over the weekend that had the Flyers listed as the 13th or no 16th or 17th most valuable basketball program in the country? They're up there with all blue bloods. They're more valuable than Xavier. They might be, they're not more valuable than Ohio State, but the bottom line is having a valuable program doesn't make you a successful program. The question you got to start asking yourself, if the Dayton Flyers basketball program is just raking in all of this money, you got to start asking yourself, well, it's a private school, so what are they doing with it? What are they doing with all your money that you're donating to them, to poor old Dayton that just doesn't have enough money in the world? They had the 16th most valuable program in the world, but yet are always doing the, hey, can you donate your money to our athletics program so we can help give our poor hobo athletes opportunities of a lifetime? You're the 16th highest, most valued, basketball program athlete. Figure it out on your own. But if they truly are that and they haven't maximized it and you're in the A10, I don't think you're as big of a deal as what you think. In fact, I know it. I've been saying it forever. It's just taking y'all time to catch up to realize, oh, yeah, Kinner's a hater. He's annoying, but he's right. And I am. Xavier's a much better job. Now, Ohio State is the Ohio. I'm a Buckeye basketball fan. I grew up a diehard fan of Ohio State basketball when you had Thad Matta and Conley and Greg Oden and Daquan and Jamar Butler and the Dieblers. And then you go into William Bufords and the Aaron Kraft. And then, you go into the Sullinger run and all of that. I love that multi-class recruiting cycle run that Thad Matta had at Ohio State. It was unbelievable. And college basketball has shifted and changed so much. Ohio State's not a good basketball job. And I talked to quite a few people that are close and in the know when it comes to Ohio State basketball at this point. I was very curious about the rumors of John Calipari's interest in the Ohio State job and how legit that was. John Calipari really wanted that Ohio State job. And the one of many reasons, but one of the, like John Calipari, you guys could sit there and say he's overrated. He's not. He's one of the best coaches in college basketball. Did his time start to run out at Kentucky a little bit, get a little stale? Yes. There's a lot of coaches who kind of overstay their welcome a little bit. Their message becomes stale. You don't hold the same power you do with the powers that be at your university, and then you lose a little bit of that messaging with the athletes. A fresh coat of paint was best for both sides. I think he's going to kill it at Arkansas, and I think Kentucky's going to do great things with Pope. This idea that John Calipari is just not a good coach, stop it. You guys are kidding yourselves. John Calipari wanted the Ohio State job. You can't hire a John Calipari at your school unless you are willing to fully invest into the basketball program. Ohio State didn't pursue the John Calipari route because if you hire John Calipari as your head basketball coach, you got to make sure that you exhaust all money and resources to help him fund and produce the team that he needs and wants out on that floor. Arkansas was able to do that. Arkansas has the donor and donors to justify. They're going to spend a ton of money on on their basketball program. Ohio State will not. Ohio State will not. If Ohio State needs a really good third-string quarterback and Ohio State needs a really, really good starting point guard, and they both cost the same, guess what? The money from the collective is going to go to that third-string quarterback before Ohio State gets their starting point guard. Now, I might be a little dramatic with this, but you guys know I'm right. Ohio State will never, from a collective standpoint, invest heavily into the basketball program the way they do football, nor should they. But I did hear from multiple sources at Ohio State that, yes, there was a lot of truth to the Calipari to Ohio State possibilities, but Ohio State knew if you hire John Calipari, that means you have to invest into him in the program. And they didn't do that. Jake Diebler was the safer route. You recruit the high school players, you develop the high school players, you'll have enough money in the collective to go get a big player or two from time to time, but the Ohio State's never going to invest into the basketball side. Ross Bjork, I know, recently said that they wouldn't. Stop it. They're not. Xavier is the best college basketball job in the state. Even Cincinnati, who I prefer Cincinnati basketball over Xavier, to be honest with you. I think right now in today's climate of college athletics, I think Xavier is a better job. Cincinnati, although they're more known for their basketball program success than football, at the end of the day, as long as you have Division I football, as long as you're a Power 4 program, football has to be your number one priority. And I don't think that I don't think that the NIL situation at Cincinnati is like very healthy, which means even whatever resources you have to go to give yourself the best chance possible with football. You have to exhaust every resource you have. I think that Xavier is the best basketball job in the state of Ohio. Simply put, they're a basketball school. They're in the Big East. They're not splitting money with the football team. And they went out and got Richard Pitino. Xavier didn't go get Richard Pitino so that they can recruit high schoolers and, teach them to dribble with their left hand and right hand and write the team motto on their notebook and report to class and sit in the front row and wear a tie and, by golly, pray before dinner every night and make their beds when they wake up in the morning. They're there to win some damn games. Xavier is the best job in the state of Ohio, simply put. Dayton should be. When you look at what Dayton, when that Wall Street Journal thing came out and talked about what is Dayton doing with their money? People want to make fun of Wright State and how they handle their money, but my gosh, how do you have money coming in left and right, but you're still taking the little can and holding it out on the street corner, telling people, "Can you please donate some change? Promise I won't buy alcohol with it." That's the Dayton Flyers right now. I don't get it. That program constantly is screaming money problems, but yet all they do is brag about how prestigious and just how rich they are. It drives me nuts. I'm still waiting for Anthony Grant to go and get the best NBA talent. Every time I see that Dayton's in on some player, it's some guy from Mercer or what. You're going to go try to dominate the A-10 with a bunch of players from significantly small. What happened to the days of going to get the guys from Florida? You used to get Chase from Florida. You get Chimunga from Nebraska. You go get Elijah Weaver from USC. Well, what happened? Why are we fighting with mid-majors for players? It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why I'm in the mood like that right now, but it is what it is. I can't read that one, Chad, but, wink, wink, it is what it is. But no, I just thought that was interesting. When I heard that about the Calipari Ohio State thing, it did catch my attention because I'm like, I really would have loved Ohio. If Ohio State would have landed Calipari, I would have lost my mind. I would have thought that was the coolest thing ever. I mean, you have Ryan Day and Ohio State winning national championships in football just to hand it off to Calipari to continue dominating on the hardwood. The expectation is still for Jake Diebler, I apologize, to win basketball games. But if you notice, if Ryan Day is not competing for national championships, over time, you're going to push him out. We're not asking Jake Diebler to compete for Final Fours or national championships. People just want Ohio State in the NCAA tournament every year, and I don't think that's an unfair ask. I think Ohio State should be in the NCAA tournament every year. I don't think that they should be playing for their bubble lives every single year. I don't think that they should be turning down Crown invitationals or NIT invitations. I don't think they should be turning those down, not because they shouldn't turn them down. They shouldn't even be in position to get those invites. They should be dancing in March every year to begin with. But if Calipari is your head coach, you have to invest into it. You have to provide unlimited NIL funds. You have to you have to provide all of that. And that's not going to happen at Ohio State when football runs absolutely everything. But yeah, when Richard Pitino took that Xavier job, I thought that was a hell of a get for them. Xavier is historically known to hire from within and to go back to the well. There was a reason that Chris Mack was rumored to be the guy that they were close to landing before all of a sudden the breaking news came out that they were able to, go and get Richard Pitino. And Xavier is the most interesting basketball school in the state of Ohio. I mean, think about this. Xavier is going to have the crosstown shootout every year. So when you're out recruiting, if you're Richard Pitino, you get to go tell your recruits, hey, guys, listen, you come play here, you're going to be in one of the most special college basketball rivals there is in the crosstown shootout in Xavier and in Cincinnati. That's a selling point. You're going to want to be a part of that. And then, the father-son rivalry. Every time St. John's plays Xavier, it's going to be a nationally televised game. It's going to be one of the most talked about games in all of college basketball. And then, when we go play St. John's and Rick Pitino, guess what? We're going to be playing at Madison Square Garden. Xavier is going to be a hell of a basketball story out of the Big East. And it's one of my favorite conferences. I mean, right now, when you got Rick Pitino in St. John's, you have Dan Hurley, Rick Pitino at St. John's with his national championship pedigree. When you look at the multiple national championships that Hurley has at UConn, now Xavier's in the mix now with Richard Pitino, and they're going to be competitor there. You have Marquette. I mean, the coaching in the Big East is unreal. The storylines in the Big East is unreal. Xavier is the most interesting college basketball program in the state of Ohio. It's the best job. And there's a reason that Pitino left New Mexico to move to Cincinnati. Nobody's moving from New Mexico to Cincinnati for no damn reason. It's because it's the Big East. It's a basketball conference. They are a basketball school. I think Richard Pitino is going to kill it there. I think that, Wes Miller, I'm kind of out on at Cincinnati. You have too many coaches in the state of Ohio that just keep underachieving. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of Anthony Grant ruining Dayton and underachieving over and over and over. But hey, we have good kids and we have this and that. I mean, you should automatically have good. I promise you this. They're not. It's not like they're all mutually exclusive. All right, we have a really, really talented basketball program, but the kids are bad. Why don't you go? There's a lot. I mean, the team, Florida just won a national championship. They're good kids. Well, what's this idea that if we have really talented kids, that they're not good people? But that's a smokescreen for, we know we're not doing our job. I'm paid millions of dollars. I'm Anthony Grant. I'm paid millions of dollars. I should be going to get the best talent available. But when you start doing the whole, they're good people, well, we weren't debating whether they were good people or not. But if that's the only thing you have to brag about, that means there's nothing else to brag about. If we're having to comb through the weeds and get to what kind of people they are and what kind of grades they get, guess what? The only thing that your fans truly care about, can they dribble a damn basketball? Not saying that they care if they're good or bad people or not, but we just assume that you're recruiting good people. Thanks for reassuring us. I didn't think that we needed to be reassured on that. I thought you were automatically bringing good people in, and they are, by the way. Dayton has very good people in there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. Go get basketball players, man. Go get basketball players. The best thing that ever happened to Dayton, Malachi Smith joining the transfer portal. I mean, he needs to sign at Wake Forest or something. Go get a point guard that can actually shoot, that can actually score. That's not going to be kicked out of all the bars around campus. Go get somebody that is going to help you win some basketball games at this point. Simple as that. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frankers right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. We do have the spring game coming up this weekend. You'll hear the Ohio State spring game coming up on Saturday noon. The kickoff pregame coverage begins an hour before. Jacob and I talked about this on Off the Bench earlier. I think we have the last hour of Off the Bench coming up here in the 5 o'clock. But yeah, Ron Howard says you're brainwashed from the Chatterbox guys. I don't think I'm brainwashed. I don't think I'm brainwashed at all. I don't even know what that has to do with anything. I think Xavier, I don't even think that's a hot take to say that Xavier is the best college basketball job in the state of Ohio. Am I wrong? Xavier, every dollar that comes into that program will go right to the basket, or every dollar that comes in will go right to that program. Every collective dollar that comes in, NIL, will go to the basketball program. Cincinnati, they get a big pool of money in the collective, but they got to make sure that it goes to the quarterback, that it goes to the wide receivers, the defensive ends, the pass rushers, the cornerbacks, blah, blah, blah. And then what's left, you could field the basketball team. No. Dayton should be up there. That Wall Street Journal article that came out, and the most valuable, campus out there, university out there, you kidding me? And they can't put a competitive, they compete in the A-10, by golly. They win 20 games. They finish top 3 or 5 in the conference every year. But that type of money that's coming in, they should be dominating that conference to the point to where they're rejecting the Big East and not the other way around. So no, I have not been brainwashed, Ron. Not even a little bit. But the spring game coming up. I talked about this on Off the Bench a little bit ago. I thought it was interesting. I'm not a fan of the full contact for the spring game coming up. I know I saw a lot of fans say, man, that's going to make it worth it. At least we're going to go watch a football game. What are you gaining by going to watch Ohio State's inter-squad scrimmage, full tackle, a chance to risk guys getting hurt? I feel like this is just another example of Ryan Day trying to prove to people that, hey, we're a tough football team. I'm a tough coach. We got a tough football team. I feel like after the game, he's going to, still call out Lou Holtz to say, I hope Lou Holtz watched the spring game and paid attention to how tough we are. Man, oh, man. You have so many Power 4 programs pulling their spring game, and Ryan Day's over here saying, we're going to tackle. I don't like it. I don't want to risk anyone getting hurt. Nobody's going to get hurt. It's going to be, I'm complaining just to complain at this point, it sounds like. I think everything's going to be fine, but it's like, why risk it? You have all this momentum. You won a national championship. Everything's rolling. Why risk it? But we'll see. Still excited for it. I don't really care about the game itself. We don't learn anything from the game. No position battles are truly won or lost in the spring game, by golly. So it is what it is. Good opportunity, though, if you're not doing anything Saturday. Tickets, $10 on the resale market? Go take advantage of that. A chance to take the family to the show. to watch Ohio State football players, play football, defending national champions, go take part of that. I think they said they got their rings today. They're going to do the ring ceremony, I believe, on Saturday, if I heard that correctly. So nonetheless, but all right, we'll step away for a few moments. We still have another hour of the show coming up. I know we have some stuff from Chatterbox that we're going to be airing coming up. Then at 6 o'clock, Card Subject to Change with Benjamin Chimera, Big Kevin Company. For you wrestling fans, there will be a WrestleMania watch along on our ESPN Dayton YouTube channel. The guys from Card Subject to Change, they're going to be here at the studio. They're going to be going live on YouTube, and they're going to be reacting to both nights of WrestleMania coming up here in a few weeks. So keep that in mind. We're excited to announce more details on that. Some of you aren't wrestling fans. That's fine. Don't tune in. It's not that big a deal. But there's a lot of wrestling fans out there who are jacked up for WrestleMania. We'll have Card Subject to Change coming up in a bit. You want to check that out. Show gets excellent number. We get really good reviews on that show. Benjamin Chimera is a pro wrestler himself, does a fantastic job leading that. If you haven't done it, please give the show a listen. He's going to be coming up at 6 o'clock. Ben's become a very close friend of mine. Works his ass off and puts a lot of time into the show, and he knows what he's talking about. He's a really good guy, so check out the show coming up at 6 o'clock. Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. More live and local programming when we come back.